In today's episode of Factory of the Future podcast, we are interviewing Björn Vikard. Now, Björn Vikard has built his leadership philosophies not in the classroom, but on the factory floors across 6 countries. Born in Sweden, based in Bangkok, he has spent nearly 2 decades at Volvo Aero, which is now GKN Aerospace, rising from engineering roles to managing director positions across Sweden, United States, Sri Lanka, India, Indonesia, and Thailand. In Sri Lanka, he built a quality and supply chain teams from scratch across 8 manufacturing companies simultaneously, helping them achieve their AS9100 certification in just 9 months. Now, this is countries that have no aerospace machining background, which gives you just a glimpse on what Vikard had done from what was they having zero knowledge up to receiving certification. In India, he worked with the unionized operations and learned what it actually takes to close the gaps between compliance and commitment. While in Indonesia, he broke cultural barriers to get female workers onto the production floor, opening up many positions and filling roles that are desperately needed. And he says it taught him the most important leadership lessons he's ever learned. Today, he works as a family-owned manufacturer through his practice, Vikard Coaching. And today we're going to talk about his first book, Leading with Character Across Cultures, which is very relevant as you'll listen to this podcast of how Vikard talks about his passion and his knowledge across different cultures, different countries, and how he brings them together. This has helped him become an Amazon bestseller in January of 2026. And he's working on releasing his second book, Don't Exit Wrong, on the success of crisis facing family manufacturing globally. And this is set to release in 2026. Alexandria and I had a fantastic time interviewing Björn because his insight and the way he's able to dissect it and dive down deep into some of the core issues and share some examples was absolutely amazing. And if you haven't got his book, I will tell you, I ordered it right after our interview. I'm recording this afterwards, but it's a go-to guide if you're dealing with organizations that struggle with cultures and understanding where the maturity levels and where you can go after driving some of these continuous improvement changes. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. Factory of the Future podcast.
Welcome to Factory of the Future, people-powered health. Podcast focused on trends shaping the future of manufacturing. I'm Alexandria Burek, your host, here with A.W. Schultz. 2 thought leaders with a passion for people and manufacturing. Today and every episode, we are diving deep into the advancements, sustainable practices, and dynamic changes transforming how we produce everything.
And now welcome Alexandria Burek and A.W. Schultz.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Factory of the Future. Today we have a very special guest, Björn Vikard, who has touched on manufacturing across the globe. He is an author, and today we're going to be talking about a couple of those things and wherever else the conversation takes us. So, Björn, if you wouldn't mind, please share with us a little bit about how you got into the global manufacturing landscape, where you started, and where you are today.
Okay. I started the global really in Sweden because when I was in the aerospace industry, I came into the purchasing side of it, and mainly in the quality area. And then I started to do all of the quality audits. So I started to work a lot with suppliers, first mainly in US, and then it kind of spread all over the world. So after I've been there for quite many years, I moved to US for Volvo to set up the whole supplier quality assurance side, which kind of drove more and more of the global to go to other countries. And then I had an opportunity to be part of a greenfield team and start up supply chain and quality and IT operations in Sri Lanka. So I jumped on that side. And then it kind of went...
Bjorn, what is greenfield team? Is it what I think it is? Or
we started up a complete industrial park with 9 companies from scratch. There was just a big plot of land where we...
But you called it greenfield. Is it literally because it's a green field, or is there another aspect to it?
No, the definition was that you're starting something brand new that has not been. Okay. So we took actually aerospace into Sri Lanka. That was one of the big areas for us. So I had to build up the whole aerospace side there with suppliers, AS 9100 approvals. And when that was done, I started my consulting company, and the first consulting job I ended up in India, and they hired me after I had done the assessment of the company for a 1-year contract to revamp the whole factory. And when that was done, I came to Thailand, started up to do consulting in Thailand. And then I had an opportunity to move to Indonesia and run a fairly big factory. We were 1,000 people there, and I had 200 people working in Hungary at that time as well. And we developed that factory, and that's where we can get into a little bit more later on about the female interaction in the factory world, which is very different compared to other Asian countries.
But before you jump into that, I mean, getting into the market in India, obviously there was probably, you had built some credibility on some success that you had prospered earlier. What did they see in you that sparked their interest, and then what drove you to go to Thailand? Because I mean, you've been everywhere.
My mother says I'm a very restless soul. But no, it comes back to when I lived in Sri Lanka. I met my wife, which is Thai, so therefore it was natural to go to Thailand afterwards. But for the India side, it was the company had problems. They never deliver on time. And the owner of the company knew a good friend of mine, and he was sitting at his villa one day, and he said, I don't know what to do. And my friend was nice, and he said, oh, I have a Swedish guy who knows that stuff. And he said, oh, you have a Scandinavian? Yeah. He was from Denmark, the owner. So he brought me in for a conversation, and he says, go there for 3 days, do the evaluation, what you think about the company. Then you report back to me. So I came back, I gave him the report and the summary, and he said, so how much do you want? I said, I don't understand what you mean. I delivered. You already have my invoice. And he said, no, how much do you want per month? And I looked at him and I'm like, are you offering me something? And he's like, yeah, I'm saying you will be the operations, the general manager for the factory until it's up running. So he, within the first day, I had already written the report with all the findings I had. And it was a lot of leadership. And of course, a union-driven company in India is not that easy to handle if you don't want to handle it. It's easy to take a step back and let the fighting begins, and then hope that you have some people left. I had 350 people that was unionized. And coming from Sweden, it's pretty easy to deal with the union. It's not like you have nice conversation. There's no one that raises the voice or anything. It's good conversation and you get to an agreement. India is a different story.
Really?
So no.
Being from Chicago, it's a very union heavy city.
Oh, you're almost the same. It's like a mafia.
Yeah. So what was your experience with the union representation in India?
Before I met the union, I heard a lot scary stories. The union in India have a big chunk of money. They have, one of our neighbors, a chemical factory, when I came there, they had been shut down for 9 months.
Strikes.
Yeah. So they still, after 6 months, they started to allow people to get into the factory.
Okay.
So they are very rich, the unions. So they can afford closing down companies until, as we were in the BOI zone, which is a foreign investments. So they know that we have money. So they are prepared to make us pay, more or less. But in the end of the day, so when I met the union the first time, I was like, this will be a scary experience. So I walked in, I shook the hand, said hello and all of it. And I said, there's only one deal. It's a win-win. If you win, I win. Otherwise, we have no deal. And it was silent in the whole room. No one has gone in and said that to these guys before. And they said, it's a good concept. Do you promise that you keep it? And I said, unless you don't do anything stupid, you have my word.
That's a great way to handle a union negotiation. That's a masterclass in negotiation here.
I was shocked that it worked. I was like, what did I say? But I had really good relationships. So during my year I was there, when I left, they said, we will start striking after you leave, but out of respect to you, we are not going to strike yet. I said, don't tell me that. You shouldn't go for strikes. Start discussing. They said, no point.
Yeah.
So, so when they asked for something, I gave it to them. And when it was like they wanted to change the catering for the food, then we split the extra cost because they were the one that wanted me to throw out the catering company that we had. I had to pay penalty, but they understood that it is give and take for both.
Yep.
So that relationship worked very well through
that was the big issue. One of the big issues. Okay.
I can tell you. I was sitting in my office and I heard a rumble downstairs. And I looked out of the window and I see all my workers standing down on the floor looking up at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? And my second in command, he said, don't go out. Don't go out. So, of course, stupid Swede, I go out. No one tells me not to go out kind of scenario. So I go out or standing up on the platform. I said, what's the problem? And the union rep that we had in the factory, he said, the bread was molded. We cannot eat. So until you give us good bread, we're not going to work. And I looked at him and I said, you're closing down the factory for a piece of bread? He said, yeah, one piece. I said, you have 350 people. One piece is bad. Did you find any more? They said, no. And I said, you're shutting down the factory for one piece? One slice of bread? And they said,
Could you imagine? Could you imagine how that would go in America? Like, I wouldn't even want to. Firstly, there's food. I didn't know factories came with food. Secondly,
I didn't know
one moldy piece of bread. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, in a climate that we had in Goa, where it's kind of not
humidity
uncommon that one piece would be bad. And of course, they started the fight with the catering company. So then they came down to the factory to me.
I hope they applied. Oh, sorry.
No.
I was going to say, I hope they applied the same standard of quality expectation to the goods that you were producing.
Not really, but food is very important in Asia. So, but it was quite funny. I had 300 people standing down there, and the union rep said, "If you fix the bread, we go back to work." And I said, "Yeah, but I will deduct the time that you wasted. Yeah. You either had salary, or you work overtime for free." And they said, "No, we cannot work overtime for free." I said, "Why wouldn't you? You have been standing here doing nothing."
Good for you.
The union guy, he went down and he came back and he said, half of them agreed to work overtime, half didn't. I said, "It's all or none. So you have to decide." So they were running up and down to negotiate and give me new numbers of how many people it was going. And it ended up that everybody worked extra time. But...
Oh my goodness, that's an awesome story, because I've
never
heard a story like that before.
Yeah, my mind is absolutely blown.
But I mean, but you figured out what was the big ticking point with that organization, that culture was the catering and the food thing, and I think you uncovered it and you figured out how to fix it, and it's funny that led to your success, just listening to them. Not being you were a little bit, but
I mean, for me, it was like, I'm new in this culture. I'm new in the country. I don't speak the language, and suddenly you see an angry crowd downstairs, and it's like, no, this is not going to end well.
Yeah.
So. No, my boss, he said, "You're very, very brave, or you're very, very stupid." I would not have gone out.
That's funny. I have to ask a question going back to the Greenfield project. So one of the things AW and I talk a lot about is, this concept of advanced manufacturing being, pretty much held by the European countries, the United States, kind of more of like the Western world. But bringing aerospace manufacturing to India, I mean, there must have been...
Sri Lanka.
Oh, Sri Lanka. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. There must have been some real significant hurdles to overcome, especially starting from a field, building the factory. Can you walk us through kind of like how you decided to build the factories? What were some of the challenges, or what drove you guys to Sri Lanka versus any of the other countries? Walk us through that whole decision-making process, if you don't mind.
Okay. We were hired by a Swedish entrepreneur that he started up a load cell company in his garage, kind of same story as IKEA.
Yeah.
Kind of. But when he started to grow, he said that it's too expensive to do it in Sweden. So he moved the manufacturing to Sri Lanka because he got 10 years tax-free. So they wanted foreigners to come.
Yeah.
They wanted technology into the country. So they offered him that much. And he built up that company and he sold it for $50 million.
Wow.
And then he said, "It's time for me to give something back to Sri Lanka."
Okay.
He still lives half the year in Sri Lanka and half in Sweden. So he's 89 years old right now. He will never stop working. Strange concept, but he decided. So he wanted to build an industrial park where we took people from the village that couldn't go to school. So teach them English, teach them all the manufacturing knowledges for the different companies that we had within, teach them quality, all the quality system, how it works, and then move them into the factories. So
What an amazing idea.
yeah, no, I thought it was great. That's kind of why I jumped on the idea of moving from Sweden. So in the beginning, we took people that had like a national level. It's like gymnasium, almost like gymnasium level. And we built on them. So we had a supervisor level that we then use, if we call the people from the village or people from other villages that we trained. So we had a good supervisor level to kind of help, because none of us spoke Sinhala.
Right.
So we needed really good people. So we built it that way. And then when it came to the aerospace company, it was a joint venture between the Swedish guy and one American company and one English company that was making transducers. So we brought people from those companies to teach them the technical. We brought the main engineering staff went to UK for training for a year and a half.
Wow.
In US, it was more difficult because I came from Sri Lanka. So we brought 2 Sri Lankans over to California. That was the max we could bring at that time. Sri Lanka was classified as terrorist organization because of the Tamils war and all of it. So when we wanted to send over the third one, we had to send home one because 2 was the maximum.
One in, one out.
yeah,
Rules here.
I mean, I like that US has systems, but I was like, these guys are like 18, 19 years old. They have never left the island, and now they come to US. It's not like you would say that they are a big risk, but that's how it worked. But then we were able to get some more after we had negotiated with the California state to help us. But so that's how we kind of built up the park. And we had the company where I belonged to was the park company, if we call it. It was a central service. So for all the 8 manufacturing companies, I was their quality manager. I was their supply chain manager. And for a while, I was the IT until they hired someone that actually knew something about IT. I knew how to buy all the toys, but I'm good at that. But otherwise, support was not really my strong side. So I was happy to get rid of that and focus on the manufacturing side instead.
Yeah. So how many people, how many people went through the program from supervisor down?
When I left, we were 400 people at that time. That was almost 3 years.
Wow.
So
and that changed the trajectory of their life, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, having a future, some of them had more or less no future because their parents didn't have that much money. They lived in the village, more or less, preparing motorbikes and all of these things to survive. And suddenly they have a salary, they have an education, they have actually a certificate of education and all of it. So when they wanted to leave, they brought a value for the next place because they saw that almost everybody in the aerospace company spoke English, as an example.
Yeah.
And at that time, they didn't start English unless you were in university.
Wow.
So when you have someone that has done a technician level of training that speaks good English, so they can speak with Rockwell Collins or Airbus or Boeing people, and they understand what they are saying, then
goes a long way.
The project was quite successful at that time.
Very, very cool.
One thing that I know Alexandria wanted to bring forward is like, so what about Was there a lot of? I know the answer to this. There probably wasn't a lot of women in the manufacturing industry, but what did you see?
You actually, when you say the manufacturing, you have to separate manufacturing from kind of metalworking and electrical.
Okay.
On the aerospace side, anything that was PCB, we used women for it. Anything that's detail, you use women. If you go into any electronic company, especially here in Asia, I don't know how it works in US. I think it's more automation there, but you only see women.
Oh.
When I ran a cable harness, a wire harness factory a couple of years ago, and I had 135 people inside my factory as operators. 127 were women.
Wow.
So I can tell you that has been the most difficult job I have had so far. Handling that many women is not that easy.
Probably worse than your experience at the catering in Sri Lanka.
No, actually, my wife actually told me once that it's much easier to handle the Indian guys than handling all women at the same time.
I imagine that would be tough.
What
But it was when you're looking at women for more precision work, they have patience. They can sit. No, they have.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, no. First time they told me, I looked at them and I said, "Yeah, that makes sense," because guys, we have a tendency to lose focus very quickly, and they did a lot of studies on it, and it's pretty useless to put us into soldering operations or small like PCB assembly and things like that, because we will do it and then we start talking and then we do some our mind will go all over. But women, they sit talking and they just sitting there. They do it 8 hours in a row.
Wow.
We handled 15 minutes, I think it was the study show.
So how do women get into manufacturing? Because I think as far as my experience goes, in terms of being in the US, it's all of that work is highly marketed and just generally accepted and thought of as a male dominated job and career path, right? Like I'll share a story. So when I was maybe about 6 years old, I remember distinctly saying to a family friend who was like a babysitter and whatnot, I said, I wish I was a man or I wish I was a boy. And he was like, why? And I said, because they have so many better job opportunities than women. And that was my observation experience as a 6-year-old girl, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see what path there was for a woman to have the same opportunity. So, I mean, I still don't fully disagree with that. Like there's a part of me that still agrees with 6-year-old me who made that observation, because I think a lot of that still exists. But I'm just trying to think of like, is it a part of the culture that women naturally go into those jobs? Is it out of necessity? Is it viewed as like a noble career path? Like I'm trying to understand kind of what the other attitudes are about that.
If I'm looking, if I'm looking at Sri Lanka, they don't really mind having women in the factory, because the textile industry was very, very big.
Yeah.
The tea industry was very big, and they use a lot of women and men for different positions.
Okay.
And if you're looking at construction work in Asia, there is a lot of women.
Interesting.
But they don't do the construction work. They do all the lifting. So when they need concrete, it's the women who carries it on their head over to the guys who pours it and do it. So it's,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked. For me, coming from Sweden, it should be vice versa.
Yeah.
We have the women lifting heavy.
Yeah.
But they load up a couple of bags and then they walk. It's amazing to see them.
Yeah. The strongest women in the world, it sounds like. Well, okay, so that leads to my next question now. So does it seem like then women in these other countries where there's a lot of women in factories, are they ever given opportunities to step into supervisory and more senior roles? Okay, so it's not just they're classified and lumped in as your heavy lifters or your worker bees, but they are given just as much opportunity, you would say, to rise up through the ranks and step into leadership roles.
If I'm looking at the women I had in the harness factory as an example, everybody had an opportunity to be shift leader if a position was open and they could demonstrate that they were ready.
Yeah.
And if a supervisor retired, it was women who was going to take over that role.
Okay.
So we only used guys in the factory when it came to the heavy machinery stuff.
Okay.
And nighttime work.
Okay.
Because it's more restricted to have women working nighttime. It's not kind of in the culture to have women working when it's dark outside. They should be home with the family.
With the family,
at that time.
yeah.
Which I have full respect for, and I actually like the concept because when you do it, you have to get special buses. You have to have security to ensure that everyone gets into the house. You don't drop them at the bus station. They have to go in because
door to door.
They take care of the kids. So from a culture, there is a big value on a woman. So it's hard to get them to work overtime late because of it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to overall, in the countries I've been, the only time it was difficult to move in women into a production area, it was Indonesia.
Really?
Yeah, no, guys have no acceptance to have a woman doing an operator job in there. They can work in quality, they can work in purchasing, HR. There's no issues. But when it comes to them working on the shop floor, that was a big no.
Okay.
Because I tried to get women into the production floor and everybody was like, time out. Don't come with those ideas. So of course I came with that idea anyway. So I took a young girl, cute young girl, so I thought that would be easier. But she was smart. She had an engineering degree as well.
Yeah.
So, and I said, I want you to go into the engineering team, but we have no job right now. But if you start learning the products and the processes, it will be so easy to move you later on because you have all the knowledge. So I said, from now on, you report to me, and then you take these KPIs every single day, and you check the 5S every single day, and you give me the report. So when she came down, it took less than 3 minutes until all production manager was in my office, like saying, what are you doing? And I said, she works for me. She doesn't work for you, so you don't have to care. And they said, we cannot have women on the shop floor. I said, she has safety shoes. She wears goggles. She fulfills all the requirements. And they're like, she's a woman. I said, I know. She is a woman. HR told me that too. I said, I can see her. She is a woman. And those guys were like, crazy. And I was like, that's fine. So I said, tomorrow she will come down again. And the day after, and the day after. So
Good for
get
you.
used to it. So she told me after 2 months that now they actually start talking to her and kind of take her in as in the team, because she had to do the lunches and tea breaks by herself because no one of the guys wanted to talk to her. I think the guys actually wanted to talk to her. It was more like the managers were telling her, don't do that, don't do that.
Yeah.
But it was a culture. But after that, we put in a couple of more, because we had 2 factories and a logistics center, so we needed more. But yeah, it was a little bit chaotic for a while.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's really inspiring, though. Bjorn, what I'm really taking away from this conversation with you is how kind of looking at your career and your resume, it would seem you're obviously proficient and an incredible manufacturing leader, somebody who brings a lot of skills to the table and who's not afraid to challenge the status quo. But what I'm really inspired by is how you've been able to like positively impact so many people's lives and make these changes, you know, for the people that were a part of the Greenfield project, or for this woman who, you know, has kind of broken the glass ceiling or the barriers in Indonesia with regards to women on the factory floor and where they belong and where they don't. And I think that that's just such a beautiful story. And, you know, even talking about today with your comment about women doing precision work, I hope maybe that changes something for the audience members who listen. We have a generally global audience, but hopefully some folks in the US might reconsider. One of the things that I always advocate for in terms of manufacturing or like women in the workforce, and I was talking about this with somebody recently. I said, you know, if US companies would be more open to part-time work. Oh, I know who it was. One of my friends works for Aldi headquarters, and she's in the HR department. She's a mom. She has 2 kids under 4, and she's pregnant with her 3rd. And I was telling her, I said, wouldn't it be nice if women could get part-time jobs? Like, moms don't want to just necessarily fully stay home. And AW and I have talked about this, how to get women in manufacturing. There's so many different ways that women could support a manufacturing company across the board. And offering part-time work might be the ticket to that, to bridging that workforce gap that we have. And, you know, it's beneficial to the companies because then they don't have to pay full-time benefits and all the things that go along with that. So that would be my call to action to anybody listening to this who's trying to solve a workforce gap, is maybe open up your minds and ideas to part-time labor for moms who have small children.
Yeah, I mean, I remember.
You should. Sorry, AW.
Oh no, I was
gonna. Sorry,
I was just going to piggyback on a comment you said earlier on. You know, these women couldn't work overtime. And I've had a similar situation. It's like I'm in a union facility, overtime is based on seniority, and all of a sudden I'm forced to force somebody, and I'm trying to follow the protocol, and it's like I can't work because I have to get my kids to school, and we're working nights, and it's just something to be sympathetic about. And usually you don't have that problem with the males; they'll take all the overtime, but when you've got moms that have got other responsibilities. I think Alexandria's. I don't know the answer to what you're saying because I don't know why we can't do that. Really, but I think it's great.
I think people aren't thinking about it. That's why.
I must say that I think even if I don't live there any longer, but when I was working in Volvo, the aerospace side at that time. We had, I think at that time, this is like I left them 2007. We probably had 30% of the operators as women. Because the law says that it doesn't matter if you're female or male, as long as you have the qualifications. So, and when women gets pregnant, they get like 11 or 13 months off.
Beautiful.
Wow. But then they realized our government realized that the guys never really do anything for the kid, and they need to be part of the first year.
Yeah.
So, and the guys were like, "Oh, this is not good for us. This, we will lose money and all of it." And then they realized that they have to be home. I think it's 10 months, and they just love it because they can take it out over 8 years.
Oh,
So they take
wonderful.
3-4 extra weeks of vacation every year and prolong the summer for them.
Yeah.
And most of the guys do it at the same time. So a lot of the guys they work with are home as well. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's not that it's only one. So it's really popular in Sweden.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's
think
one.
Sweden
It's
is-
one way
yeah.
to get women into the manufacturing side.
That's great. Björn, is there anything that you haven't shared or that we didn't touch on? We mentioned you're an author, but I'd love to give you the floor to talk a little bit about your book and kind of what inspired it, who it's for, and why you wrote it, and if there's anything else related to the book that you want to share before we close this out.
Let me do the intro to that, because it's very relevant to what we've been talking about. I mean, his book is called Leading with Character Across Cultures. And that's all we've been talking about. But honestly, we've gone deep into it. But yeah, to answer, if you can answer kind of Alexandria's question on, what drove you to it. I mean, I think I know, because not many people has had the opportunity to work in 12 different countries, and being seen and have, have influence on, I'm going to say not changing a culture, but being adaptive to their current culture and how to get results from that. So, if you can kind of go into what led you to, what were your findings, and I'm excited about this book. I think it's very relevant, especially in the cultures today, particularly in the U.S. I mean, we've got different cultures just in from east to west coast, and I think that it's a relevant topic that often doesn't get discussed a lot. So, tell us a little about what drove you to this book.
What drove me to it was actually over the years I've been thinking, what's a good leader? And the way I became a leader was not to get any training. So I copied a lot from the people who led me. And when I come to different culture, I was, if I said mentored by people in US, mentored by people in Sweden, our leadership styles are similar, but we are not maybe as rough as you guys were in certain industries. But then when I came out to the Asia side, it's a complete different thing. You have to relearn everything that you knew about leadership. So I kind of looked at every single country has differences. And when I saw a lot of the leaders, I kind of looked at them, and all over the world where I've been, there's a lot of leaders that have no self-awareness. I was one of them. I have made many mistakes in my life being a leader. And I say mistakes are great because you can learn from them. Yeah. And that I learned from a German leader. He said, when I audited him one time, he said, it's no findings, it's opportunities. You have to understand, Björn, it's opportunities. And I took that to heart, because it's really that you have a constant learning. You will never be the perfect leader in all situations. We cannot be the best every single moment in your life. We should try. We should aim to go towards that direction. But until I started to kind of read about self-awareness, I didn't really understood myself. And that kind of brought me to, I started to study more around that. If you don't understand yourself, how can you lead someone? And if you're going to lead someone, you have to show that you have values. So then you have to have self-awareness. You have to have character. Because every single day you have to repeat the same behavior if it's a good behavior. If it's a bad behavior, you have to relearn it. And one of my biggest mistakes I have had is that I'm not a very good listener. Sometimes in India I was, but I have a tendency to not have patience. So I want to have a conversation not too long. So then I kind of make assumption and then I make decision, and then that could go really wrong. In Indonesia, people took it as insult because I didn't listen. So my CEO called me and said, "Are you a racist?" And I said, "No." They say you don't care about them, and he blew it up. And I said, "How can I be a racist when I'm married to a Thai woman?" I mean, it's like I hate the whole family in that case. It doesn't make any sense. And then when I spoke to them, they said, "No, you don't listen to us." And I said, "But why don't you tell me?" And they said, "We cannot. It's not cultural right to tell the manager that's above you that you're not doing things right." And from that learning, I understood that there's so much more we have to do to become good leaders. So I took the life coach diploma to kind of understand more how you really figure out yourself. The course is great because it really makes you think about why am I doing this? Why am I saying things? Why am I reacting in certain ways? So I took that class more or less not to really become the life coach, but to learn myself in detail. So I transferred that into my leadership. And that really helped in Indonesia as well, because I kind of could recover. I brought all the people that I had offended, and I did a public apology, so even them and other people could hear that I understood I made a mistake, and I apologized. So, and that after that, the respect came, and I started to listen more. And at that facility, we grew the factory output from 29 million to 46 million euro in 2.5 years, more or less.
Wow.
But it was only because we became a team.
Yeah. It's interesting. As I was listening to you, I'm hearing the things that you talk about to be a good leader, but it's probably also the things you have to do to be a good romantic partner or good friend, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you know, a lot of times I think manufacturing gets this rap of like being kind of a cold environment where it's not necessarily fun or not necessarily there's not a high degree of emotional intelligence in that industry, right? And I found the same thing over my career. When you really get to the part of the human that you're working with, leading, whatever it may be, that's when the success comes. But you cannot achieve the success without considering the human that you're asking it to produce the success. So sounds like that's your lifelong observation and experience as well.
Yeah. So the reason why I wrote the book was more or less I have had all of these experience, and I was thinking about because I in Sri Lanka I built a training for leaders that is more or less what the book talks about. So I already had the book kind of in the back of the head that this is something I want to share. It's not. I'm looking at younger emerging leaders that needs to have a guide to be able to grow in a good way. So this is my learning that I have had that I want to give.
Yeah.
So share, so they don't have to go through all the struggles that I went through, and the sleepless nights when you're thinking, what should I do now? I think you all have had those nights, one or another.
You know, it was interesting. It was interesting. Is one of the I led a team of like 30 to 40 men when I first graduated college, which was an interesting experience. And I learned and grew a lot as a result of doing that. But later in my career, I had the opportunity to manage a team of like 6 white collar workers, which was a completely different experience from truck drivers, mechanics. The dialogue, the cadence, everything is very different, right? And I felt like I wasn't doing a great job. So I just asked my team, what do you guys need from me? Like, what are you not getting from me? Also, everyone I've ever managed has always been like twice my age or significantly older. And that's a very uncomfortable position to be in. For me, at least it was. And hopefully I've gotten over that. But they all gave me their feedback openly. And I like just took it and ran with it. And it was like the most fun experience to let people kind of tell you what they need and then to give that to them in return. So like that would be one of my recommendations and learnings as a leader in different, segments of the business, how to, ask your team exactly what they need and then do your best to deliver on what they've asked you. That's kind of the key part in building the trust, right? Like change out the catering if you have to, right?
No, but we are there to support them, not vice versa. So
exactly.
No, so when I did that training in Sri Lanka, I also helped them start up a mentoring program. So I took on a couple of guys and ladies to mentor them. So right now I try to have around 5 to 6 people that I do mentoring with, just me giving. It's no program or anything. I have my own program, but it's like I want to give if I can and they are willing, then I'm glad to give.
That's great.
Yeah, I think your book really kind of highlights a strategy, especially in the manufacturing supply chain realm, on building on organizational leadership. And it does speak a lot about motivation, and I think you actually give a kind of a 1-2 kind of how to do it and a roadmap on how others could prosper based on some of your knowledge. So I definitely recommend getting a copy of the book and checking it out, because I as you're talking, I'm paging through it right now, and it resonates a lot in my thought process on how to drive some change onto it, even though I don't have the experience in working in so many different cultures that you have had. But Björn, I really appreciate you coming onto the show today.
Yeah. We have to let you get to bed.
No worries.
Any last comments you have for us? I know this is one of our longest shows.
Yes.
It is the longest show, by the way. We might have to break it up, actually. But that's not a problem, by the way.
Yeah.
Just brought a lot of knowledge to the show.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for your contributions to the global manufacturing world. I mean, what you've done is really something to be proud of. And I'm considering myself honored to have met you and had this time with you. So thank you for being generous with your time.
Thank you. I thought it was a great conversation. I like this conversation because it gives me a lot of energy. So
good.
And I see you have a nice little cat.
Yeah, she makes a guest appearance every once in a while. Her name is Buddha, actually.
Buddha. Okay. Yeah, I have a dog that's sleeping behind me. No, but it has been fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much, and well wishes to you. Enjoy all the celebrations tomorrow,
Thank you.
and we'll look forward to staying in touch with you.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
This is Factory of the Future, and we are out of here like finished goods. Stay tuned for our next episode of Factory of the Future, where we're exploring groundbreaking techniques and behaviors that are reshaping industrial landscapes. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review and help others discover the cutting-edge insights transforming manufacturing as we know it.